Well, welcome to our panelists for this next segment. This is on AI's report card. You know, in 10 days, it's going to be ChatGPT's 3rd birthday. So who would have known 3 years ago that this little text box would turn into an AI boom that would lead companies to spend trillions of dollars? But here we are, and it really shows we don't know what's coming. When things happen, they can take us by surprise. So I'd love to speak to our panel now about how it's all gone so far. And I'd love to start with Mohamed, who's the chairman of PricewaterhouseCoopers. We know the AI adoption has been so fast for consumers. ChatGPT is used by 800 million people a week, but it's been slow for businesses. Now, part of your work is helping businesses implement it, and you're also using AI a lot yourself at PwC. So what are the wins and what are the struggles for you guys?
Very interesting question. I would tell you that when it comes to the wins, I think we are past the stage where companies, including ourselves, are asking whether they should adopt artificial intelligence or not. That is no longer the question.
Right.
The question is now, how fast can we go? So some of the wins that we have seen were, companies using AI to become more productive or more efficient. We did it to ourselves with the different people, the people that we have across the world. And this has been a success. The first thing that we had to do is to make sure that people didn't fear artificial intelligence for the jobs. Because it's one thing to use artificial intelligence in your personal life. On the job, there were some threats around job replacement for artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
So some of the wins that we have noticed are companies using artificial intelligence and making sure that they have the people embracing artificial intelligence. I mean, one of the first decisions that I had to make was to decide, how do I make our people learn about artificial intelligence on the job? We gave access to all of them in all 139 countries where we operate. And I had to ask my question, what do I do in the US? What do I do in Europe, in Asia? And that was the wrong question. I said, give it to all of them.
Just give it to everybody.
Just give it to everybody and let them play with it. And we saw a lot of the productivity improvement coming directly from our employees. And as you and I discussed, we even told them, do not think that artificial intelligence is a threat to your job. Consider artificial intelligence as a digital colleague. It flips the mindset of the people for adoption.
Yeah.
So there are some of the wins that we have seen. Some of the struggles was around, how do you measure the return on investment?
Oh, yes.
Because you see the adoption on the productivity side, but in many companies, including us, this has not led to letting people go, or attrition, or replacement. It was more augmentation. That's what we have seen. And augmentation sometimes is hard to measure. So that's what we saw. And now we are seeing the aim for artificial intelligence. Things are moving into how do companies use artificial intelligence to change what they do, to do things differently, or even do things that they never did before. So that's where the struggles are today. But I would tell you that we're in a very different place. You save almost 3 years for ChatGPT. We are in a very different place about asking our question whether we should use it or not now.
Yeah.
How fast do we go?
It's a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer now. By the way, it's not that the future is coming. It is already here.
Yeah. Well, you're building it, potentially.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Forrest, you run and have founded Sea Limited, which is essentially the Amazon of Southeast Asia. That's how some people refer to it. It's the e-commerce giant, among other software and online services that you provide. Asia has seen a huge adoption of AI. How is your company using it, and what's worked and what hasn't worked so well?
Well, I mean, like as a technology company, we are super excited about what we have seen in terms of the AI advancement and the development. And we would admire what has been developed in Silicon Valley and the rest of part of the world in terms of the fundamental technology breakthrough. But as a technology company, specifically working focus on the individuals, consumers, and especially working on emerging markets, specifically in Southeast Asia and Latin America, we are more excited about what that means to people's daily life. So, and we have seen a lot of impact, right? And I would describe the AI is a kind of very powerful production tool at this moment. And I think for us, we are all grow up, we are familiar with the PC, with the laptop, and probably more recently the smartphones. just imagine how much less you can do on a daily basis without access of a PC and without access of your phone, right? And I mean, I think like that is a way I think about like definitely the new tool, the new powerful tool as AI will just make everybody's life, daily life, more productive and probably more enjoyable. So that's like because of the PC, because of the laptop, my life is much more productive and enjoyable. Specifically in e-commerce, I think I love to give audience a bit sense about what we have seen is really working. And we are not only serving hundreds of millions of consumers, because we are also serving like tens of millions of sellers, right? They are could be individual, could be the small, medium-sized businesses, right? They're all entrepreneurs. And they are selling things through our e-commerce platform, Shopee. And the things, a small example could be like, even I'm a good seller, I can get my merchandise in like a more cost affordable, right? And but I don't know how to introduce. I'm never really educated how to write a product description.
Yeah.
And how to take a nice photo, because that is require very specific skills, and how to shoot a nice video. And end up, I may need to hire an agency and hire somebody to do the work. And the quality may not be always there, and also depends on how much I can afford. It depends on what I sell, what is my margin. And now, like we just, from the platform perspective, we just provide those AI tools to millions of sellers, right? And
wow.
they can easily just use our tools and put just a picture whatever you have, and the AI tools will kind of generate just do a touch up, just make become a much nicer photo. Mm-hmm. And what AI even can do is that they just combine several photos into a quick video, and it's very useful when buyers look at it like a. Now, I don't know, I never read a text manual about how to use a product. Like, okay, I always just go to the YouTube, search, okay, how to use these things. I just watch a 1-minute video and I get it, right? And I think that is a kind of the similar experience on e-commerce platform, and people kind of doesn't want to read a product like description or like just look at photos, a quick video that helps.
And Forrest, can I just ask, since you've implemented that, have you noticed any, I know it's early days, but have you noticed any difference in sort of your revenues or the number of products being put up on the site? Has that feature actually helped the business in some way?
Yes, we provide this kind of like for free to all the sellers, because we think that like in generally like benefit everybody, both the sellers and the buyers. The buyers also love to see nice photos, right? And nice content. And clearly we see the adoption is very high.
Adoption
which means
has increased.
As a seller, because they can choose use or they can choose not use, right? And the take rate is very high. And on the buyer side, and we realize the engagement level is going up, and the conversion rate is going up. Like they stay longer time with the product, they want to know more, and it's quite an enjoyable experience to watch a video, and also there's more conversion, right? And in terms of the placing an order. And another part from the buyer perspective is like usually people love to read reviews. There could be for one product, one seller. People care how other people think about that. It could be hundreds of reviews, and it's take time to read all of them. And you have to process, okay, which make more sense, which is more relevant.
Which one do I trust?
Yes, and now there's a kind of like a quick AI summary.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is in general how many people think about this is a good seller, this is a good product. And then if you really want to dig into details, you can still read the review, but the AI summary can give you a quick kind of sense about the sellers and the product.
That's such a great kind of rundown of how that's working for you, because I think one thing on the minds of so many businesses is return on investment for AI, because it is expensive. Of course, it's expensive for the companies to develop. And as you, Mohamed, mentioned, you can see that there's productivity, but that's perhaps a little bit difficult to measure. In Forrest's case, that seems very clear. You've got very clear metrics that you can measure. Government, how on earth do you even measure the return on investment on AI?
Listening to Forrest's absolutely brilliant example of how he's using it is a good reminder to me and people in government. Our primary job actually is just to create an environment where people like Forrest can go and innovate and do what they do. And so that's when our conversation earlier about regulation, why I've always been in the camp of saying that we must be pro-innovation. when it comes to this new technology. We're in the very early days of it. What we don't want to do is do anything that will stifle Forrest's and entrepreneurs like his ability to try new things to generate value for their customers. So I think that was a great reminder on that. On government, the most easy thing to do is look, how can we automate all the government services that every one of you has to interact with on a weekly basis, daily basis, to just make that both cheaper and more efficient, which particularly for constrained European economies is a paramount importance right now, to find some savings in government spending. But how can we just make people's lives easier? And Forrest also mentioned that from a commercial perspective, but government should set itself the same bar. Is how do we just make those interactions with government easier and make people's lives better? And to give you one practical example, one of the initiatives I'm particularly passionate about is helping introduce a targeted screening program for prostate cancer in the UK. Now, prostate cancer has become the most common cancer of men in the UK. 1 in 8 men will be diagnosed with it, and I've been advocating for a targeted screening program, national screening program, because prostate cancer, if you identify it early, we're very good at treating you and keeping you alive. And the problem is it's symptomless. So if you miss it and you only pick it up later, then your chances of survival drop quite precipitously. Now, obviously introducing a targeted screening program countrywide basis is quite an expensive and costly undertaking. However, AI has changed the dynamics on that, because now AI can read all those MRI scans that are part of the diagnostic pathway.
And sorry, by the way, you mean generative AI,
Yeah.
the latest tool,
the latest
not the
tool.
classical machine learning stuff. This is
new
a
AI,
new opportunity.
Which has meant that whereas before you think, well, look, do we have enough radiologists? Can the system handle all of this? Now it's very clear, yes, it can, because these new tools are incredibly accurate and quick at assisting our clinicians at going through the MRI scans, which now makes it much more easy to say, look, we should introduce this targeted screening program. We can afford it. We can handle it from a capacity perspective, and in the process then save lots of people's lives and keep people's loved ones alive. Now that, those are kind of the practical examples where people can see, okay, this is making a difference to me, and this is, the government, the state has helped make that a reality. So I think trying to find those examples is really, really important, beyond just saving money.
So the return on investment can be saving actual human life for governments. So the title of this panel was the AI report card. So I'm going to ask you all a quick fire question. I'm going to start with you, Mohamed. Since you were one of the first power users of generative AI at PwC, what kind of grade would you give generative AI in terms of how useful it is today, with A being the best and F being it's a total flop?
I give it an A.
Okay. And why is that?
And I would tell you why I give it an A. It's not because of what we see today, but what might come. We got to truly believe that artificial intelligence is going to create a new age of innovation. There is so much capital being invested. The example that you just gave, you are innovating how you're running your business. You're talking about innovating around screening for diseases, etc. What's coming next? So when I look at the potential today of artificial intelligence, not just generative intelligence, you have industrial AI, artificial intelligence coming in, and all of the things that are currently in development, and the amount of capital that are being deployed. We are only witnessing the beginning of a new innovation age. I truly believe that. And the last time we saw that was 25 years ago.
And the amount of capital going in is a reason you're optimistic? The fact that so much is being spent?
And the speed of development that we are seeing, the way the models are improving really, really fast, looking at all the use cases or the agents that are being developed, Rishi and Forrest gave some examples of how it's being used. Every day we are seeing new examples, not based on what is being provided. The large language models, yes, I know a lot of innovation, the new chipsets are even more powerful than before. But Rishi, I would tell you, I totally agree with you. The supply side of AI, providing AI, is a great thing. We need it. The adoption side of AI is what's going to create the future. The diffusion that you talk about.
Diffusion.
The diffusion is important because that's when you create new business models, new companies, new ways of solving problems, And that is why I give it an A, not because of doing what we do today more efficiently, but about the things that we will be able to do that we cannot do today.
Okay, so Mohamed, Forrest, Mohamed's grade is based on the future. You can do that too, or you could give it a grade today. So please, what would you say?
Well, I would say I will give 7. And in the context is I'm truly excited, and I'm very convinced, and AI will be great development and will create a lot of values and will change people's daily life in many aspects, and in general I think make people's life better. But I think the reason I give a little bit lower score than Mohamed is I feel we are still at very early stage.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't be too satisfied what we have seen and compared to what we're going to see in the next 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. I think like 10 years later, when we truly appreciate and what AI can do and can change the society, change the community, change the life, whatever we have done today is very small. It's kind of like so it's still, I think the reality will beyond today what we can imagine. So that is my take, and specifically I think like there will be many kind of like aspect, right, and will be changed. But today in our organization we just completely embrace the AI. So we like from our employees, they ask us what is our company's kind of a view and a standpoint, like can we use all the AI tools, and what is the consideration in terms of the safety and the confidential concern, all those things. And in general, our approach is, okay, we just embrace it, and you do, and we try to figure out all those things by working closely with all the big like giant like Google or like OpenAI, right, to embrace, to adopt their models, and at the same time we figure out all those issues bear in people's mind. But in general, we say, okay, do it, and if something didn't work out, and we'll fix it. And at the same time, in company, we also developed our own kind of like the agent platform. So we provide the tools, the productivity tools for all the employees, and then even our operational team without any coding experience, and they can develop their own agent and to do this to their like day-to-day work, solve their pain point. I can give a quick example. I think everybody can appreciate, right? And we handle millions of parcels every day, and in the e-commerce business, and we always get concerns like the people say, oh, I didn't receive my parcel, or like how come it's supposed to be here but I didn't. Every time we get those customer complaint, we have to investigate it, and is it delivered the wrong places, or like or the maybe the delivery driver steal it, or like the customer just kind of give us a false report. There's so much work. And if it's an individual case, we make several phone calls, it's handled. But if you think about it, it's millions of like on that scale and the total scale, and even just 1% is 2%. That is a lot of work. And our Malaysia local team, logistics team, and using our in-house agent platform to develop agent. So basically, every time, like when the delivery man delivered a parcel to the customer's home, the delivery man will need to take a photo as a proof, and then upload. Before they also upload to our database, but now they upload, and the agent can immediately give the feedback to the photo. Oh, it's not clear enough, or like it is not as a good proof. Oh, you should make the address, and it's clearly show this is apartment, or this is just a house, right? And give so this is a resolve a lot of pre-resolve, a lot of dispute, and people say, okay, I submit the photo as a proof, but the customer say I didn't receive it. It's
like a whole other workforce that you've got doing that for you.
Yes, and it's pretty much pretty much real time. So that's solve a lot of problem. And I think we have many tools again. So this is the tool empower people without any coding experience, and they can develop such a software tool. And like relatively quickly, and put into daily use is solve the practical issues they have today.
That's a nice example. Rishi, what's your view on grade?
I tend to agree with Forrest, but listening to him, you think isn't that an extraordinary use case already for a technology that, as you said, is barely a couple of years old? Mm-hmm. And I think that's the exciting thing. That's why Mohamed is giving it an A grade today, is because the pace that it is improving at is really quite striking.
Yeah.
And that was the thing that I found in the job. And it's tricky for policymakers or any of us to kind of understand exponential growth in general. But the speed at which these models are improving themselves, and then you kind of think through what that will mean in a few years' time.
What grade would you give it?
I'd probably where Forrest is.
Around B, C?
Yeah, exactly. Would you do
Okay.
seven? You did a 7 or a B.
You're the optimist.
But I would say, though, that I totally agree with the two comments.
But we are very early. Right, this is the point.
Exactly.
We are in the foothills of this, and it is improving so quickly that you can feel very optimistic about where we're headed.
Well, Mohamed made this point, a very important point about capital and how much is being spent. And for you, it's a sign of a reason to be optimistic, the fact that so much is being spent, presumably because in the past, when a lot was spent, then it led to good things. But this is unprecedented, trillions of dollars being earmarked for data centers and chips and other forms of infrastructure. And what I think is really paradoxical for a lot of us, and probably for you as well, is it's not really within our control. We will be affected by it, but these decisions and this money is largely being spent by a handful of very, very large companies. Mm-hmm. And some would look at that and say, that's a real consolidation of power happening economically in terms of influence and of impact. If something goes wrong, or if someone with a crazy radical agenda becomes in control, we might pay a price for that. And I just wonder, how problematic is that concentration of power that we're seeing in AI? Or is that status quo actually, it's worked out fine and it should continue? And I put that to the panel.
This is a great question, because we think about, there's only a few companies that have the capital to do this.
Right.
It costs a lot of money. And in artificial intelligence, as we all know, it's not just the development of the models. Build out of the data centers that you mentioned, buying chips, cooling equipment, industrial equipment, real estate, it costs a lot of money. You don't have enough companies in the world that have the balance sheet to do that, or the capital to do it. And by the way, you cited a couple of other things like the printing press, now the industrial revolution and all this. It was not that many companies that built it, because it's too much capital. So when you look at the signals of today, they're the same that we saw before. We call it this intelligence age with artificial intelligence, but the same fact pattern happened before. So that concentration is okay on the supply side.
Okay.
Now, on the demand side, on the diffusion side or adoption side, that's where you will have creation of new business models. New companies are going to come in. People will change how they do drug development, how Forrest is running his business today. You might actually build some new business lines because of artificial intelligence. So it's okay to have concentration of power on the supply side, because it will create innovation on the demand side. That is why I don't worry about this, as long as they keep spending. And you point around spending. A lot of questions were being asked to us around, what's going to happen next? How do you measure return on investment and EBITDA and all those things? We were trained for the past 15 years to have the answers. You know, if you were doing the following things, what will happen next? Yeah. The world is changing, so what do you do then? You look at leading indicators, because you don't have the lagging indicators. And the leading indicators are speed of innovation, capital being invested, number of use cases that people are trying. And if all of these things happening, something good is coming on the other end, including innovation for companies like Forrest is running today. That is why I'm so optimistic. But I will tell you, that I don't fear that concentration. I'm actually glad that they're spending the money, because we are all going to benefit from it.
On that point, and feel free to talk on this, the other question, but people have talked about an AI bubble. It sounds from all of you like that's not a huge concern, because this is all being steered in the right direction. Or am I wrong in saying that?
Forrest, you go first.
Well, I mean, I think it's like how do you define AI bubble, right? And I think it's like considering what value potentially could be created. I think it's totally fine, because it's like, as you mentioned, and now the key drivers of this AI new technology revolution is by several big giant companies in the world, technology giant companies, and they are all the commercial companies, and and they all calculate the return, right? And they are all very savvy and very disciplined in terms of every single dollar to invest, because they are like I have a lot of interaction with them. They have been all in the public, like most of them in the public company for many, many years, right?
Yeah.
And they have built up this discipline and the capability and how to deploy capital, how to do the capital allocation efficiently. I think if they believe, okay, so as you mentioned, it's like hundreds of billions of the dollars put into this new technology development on the annual basis, and the return is huge. And I think like from the talk about a bubble perspective, then it's about like what time horizon you look at. And you think now it's like things is short of a data center, a lot of investment go to the data center, go to the hardware, then it's go to the electricity, go to like the power, the water. It may be like in a short period of time, is it perfectly paced with the technology development and the transfer to the real value of people's daily life? Maybe there's a ahead, then there's a behind, right? And but in the short term, there's always this adjustment, a line need to happen. And but in the longer term, right? I think all those infrastructure we build today will eventually benefit and the whole human society, and the technology never disappoint human being in history, right? And we always believe technology advancement is the single biggest value creator in human history. And from that perspective, I think there's no bubble. But that doesn't mean
no bubble.
From a very long-term perspective, but doesn't mean okay. So you buy an AI-related stock and tomorrow you're making money. So that I'm not commenting on from the capital market perspective, but from the technology, eventually the value creation. I think that's fine.
I think there's an interesting thing that Forrest just said there, which is about historically we've always benefited from new technologies, and it has worked out and created a lot of positive impact for society. The interesting thing, if you look at it today, is amongst Western countries, and there's an Anglosphere in particular, there is actually an enormous amount of fear and skepticism about AI.
There's a lot of fear,
and that is interesting, and it's different in two respects. It's different to what you're seeing in countries like China, or India, or the Gulf, or here in Asia more generally, where people have just a different view about it. They're more positive about it, impacting their lives. They feel good about using it. You are not seeing that in the West in the same way. And secondly, it's different to the past, because if you look at the last digital revolution, you didn't see that. And so when we had the previous digital revolutions, people even in the US and the UK were very positive about the technology, and they are not in the same way today. They are more fearful. And I think that is a challenge.
And also, but companies who are driving this fear missing out. So that's just another type of fear in a way that's also driving the growth.
And that's where you're getting the investment from. So I think in order to make sure we get all the benefits that we're all talking about, I think it's incumbent on actually everybody. It comes from political leadership, but also from industry, to be able to bring their populations in these countries with them. Because actually that to me is the thing that I look at, and I think it's all great, and we can sit here and talk about all these wonderful things, but you've got huge swathes of your population that are skeptical or nervous. We need to overcome that. And I think that is something that I think a little bit about. And jobs are obviously a part of that, but it goes more broadly than that. And this is happening very quickly. And I think, Mohamed, you touched on this at the beginning. And you look back at these technological revolutions. It took, when you look at how long it took 100 million people to use the technology, I think it took something like 50 odd years for 100 million people to use electricity or to have electricity. And you fast forward to the PC, I think it took something like 15 years. And then the internet was 7 years, right? ChatGPT was 2 months, right? Like that is the speed that this is happening around the world is quite unprecedented, which is exciting, but it does mean that, as I said, we have to work harder and quicker to bring people along with us.
One final question. Does anyone want to just answer something that address what Rishi said about the fear that people have? And how would you address overcoming that fear that people have of AI? Is it about just showing them how it works, or is it a policy move, or is it a cultural thing?
I would say transparency, governance, and also
a
set of regulations that are being developed by people that actually understand artificial intelligence.
Great answer. Okay, so very optimistic panel here on AI, but also with some concrete points about how things need to improve. So thank you so much to our panel, and thank you very much to our audience for listening.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.